Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for coming here tonight. As Lori said, we are brokers in the world of insurance and Medicare. What that means is that we represent all the companies that offer these Medicare products. And in that world, you would want to know that there is fierce competition for your business. And that is a good thing to understand how well capitalism works in this market if you'll avail yourself of the knowledge necessary to make these decisions. Started teaching this class, gosh, I guess about 10 years ago now. We've spoken at Lyle Library a couple of times a year for, I'd say, close to 10 years. It's a privilege and an honor to try to educate people and bring them up to speed about this world of Medicare. It comes at you pretty fast, and you'll find that everybody and your brother and sister and loved ones all want to tell you what to do. But more than often, Lori and I find out that that's information that's only partially true. And we'll say that this Medicare world, it's a world of partial sentences and half-truths and floating asterisks. What we do is help people navigate this world, coach you up, help you make smart decisions. There's no fee for our services. We work for the insurance companies. We try to place you in the best possible value and make sure that we stay in touch through the aging process. Most people, when they come to this world, are going to come from their employer plan. And although that was a wonderful benefit, it didn't really prepare you for this world of Medicare, where now you get to make all the decisions. Everything that used to be decided in the back room, deductibles, coinsurance, co-payments, wellness benefit, all these things. Now you get to make those decisions. And I admit, initially, it's overwhelming. But take a deep breath and understand Medicare is a great program. Most notably, it's totally customizable to what you want it to be, and we can change it through the aging process. But the key to there is making smart decisions and understanding this world and all the different variables involved. And that's what we want to do here tonight. Try to keep it to a minimal time frame, but still want you to understand the basics. And one of the most important things you want to understand is that when you come to this new world, you've got a new best friend. And that new best friend is called Medicare. And this is the federal government folks that are there helping you make smart decisions if you will allow yourself to educate yourself and to coach yourself up. This Medicare and You book is a phenomenal publication, comes out each year, and that's updated for current information, and new numbers are in there. This new book obviously is for Medicare 2021. And in that world, what you've got is all of the answers to your questions are buried deep in this publication. It does two things incredibly well. It's chock full of knowledge. It's also a tremendous sleeping aid. It'll knock you down pretty fast if you let it. It's a dry read, but it's the encyclopedia of our industry. Everything that comes to you in your mailbox, and I know your mailbox is filling up, and everyone that calls you on the phone and wants to try to convince you that they're with Medicare or they've been assigned to your account, that's all salesmanship, and it drives me crazy simply because I know how confusing it can be for people. But this right here is the encyclopedia that you want to refer to. Backing this up is the world's easiest phone number. It's 1-800-MEDICARE. They're there 24 hours a day at this point, helping you to understand what your options are and to educate you and to make sure that you make smart choices. The book and the 800 number, 1-800-MEDICARE, also backed up by a fabulous website, Medicare.gov. Please note that difference. That's G-O-V, not C-O-M. I don't know for the life of me how they let Medicare.com come to market. That is a sales site. You want to be very wary of surfing the web to find out information about Medicare, because they capture your information and they sell it to other agents, and then your phone rings even more often. You'll find as you turn 65, you become very popular. They've got your name and address. Typically, they've got your phone number. You bought something from an insurance company somewhere down the road, and they know you're turning 65. You want to try to avoid those interactions if at all possible, simply because they're wordsmiths. I had a client not the other day who is 85 and was convinced that the nice young man from Social Security was coming over on Thursday to help her save money. Nobody from Social Security is coming over. She was left with that impression by someone who's very good on the phone. You'll have people that will intimate that they're with Medicare. Medicare's not going to call you unless you call them first. These are all drop-down menus, great place to get information. The book that we like so much is available right there online if you can scroll down to the bottom. But of all the tools that Medicare gives us, one of the most important is right here, where it says, if you need a plan, you can find the new drug programs for the next year. And that's critically important. Every year, Medicare gives us this open enrollment period. It goes from October 15th to December 7th. If you haven't noticed, there's been a commercial or two on TV about Medicare because during this time frame, you have some flexibility. You can change your drug program. You might entertain getting into an Advantage program. You might even change your Advantage program. There's some flexibility here because remember, we said it's a customizable platform. But that is a limited window from October 15th to December 7th. But this tool we have to check your drug programs, if you're brand new, we're going to go there and we're going to find out what of the 31 drug programs available this next year is the best one for you. Because I'll tell you, the cornerstone of Medicare is competition combined with complete transparency. We can see what everybody's doing. In that world, that helps to drive down costs. And one of the tools we have is the ability to shop your drug program, not only when you first come to Medicare, but also each year down the road. And we'll talk more about that as we get into the program. What is Medicare? Pretty simply, it's the medical program for people over 65. If you've worked at least 40 quarters or your spouse has and you've paid taxes, you're entitled to Medicare. And that could start for you as of the first day of the month in which you turn 65. So if you were born on December 23rd, you would be able to go effective December 1st of your 65th year. In that world, we want to know that certain people can get Medicare before they turn 65. These are usually sad circumstance. They've been declared medically disabled for at least 24 months, and they can cut in line and get to Medicare before they turn 65. And those people represent some unique challenges, and we'll try to touch on that a little bit later. But just know that it's usually not a pretty sight when you've got end-stage renal disease or Lou Gehrig's disease or things of that nature. But Medicare is there to back you up and help you in that instance. But the key takeaway from this slide, what we want to understand, Medicare is a phenomenal program, but it's not complete, never designed to be complete, never designed to pick up 100%. You were always expected to have skin in the game, co-payments, deductibles, co-insurance, things that you would participate in to support the Medicare. I mean, heck, we can't afford it the way that it is. If it was 100%, we would never be able to afford it. So there are things that you need to understand that Medicare does not cover. That's what we want to talk about here tonight. What is Medicare? What does it do? What does it not do? And what can we do to protect ourselves from the things that Medicare does not cover? Here's where your journey would start. Medicare A and B form the foundation. You got to have that to do anything else. You're entitled to that the first day of the month in which you turn 65. And I would bet that if you looked at your parents' Medicare card, that's probably exactly what they did. Our parents, 65 was the golden finish line. Take the grandkids fishing, retire, get your gold watch, and move on. But most baby boomers these days at 65, they're in better shape than their parents were at 55. And they like the job, they like the income, they certainly like the benefits. And this can present one of your first potholes in the world of Medicare, of partial sentences and half-truths and floating asterisks. Your friends are going to tell you, oh my goodness, you're turning 65. If you don't sign up for Medicare, there's going to be big penalties. You're going to be locked out. There's going to be real problems. And that's a partial sentence. It's also a half-truth because in the world of Medicare, if you continue to work at your job and there are more than 20 people that work there, the term for that, it's called creditable coverage. Creditable coverage allows you to keep that insurance and hold off activating your Medicare without penalty because you've continued to work and you've got this creditable coverage. Well, this A and B structure differently, and we're going to tear that apart in a second. But understand, A covers you for facilities and has no premium. So typically activating A can't hurt you, but this Part B does have a premium. That premium might be something that if you continue to work at a job with benefits, you don't even need that coverage. Your coverage at work remains primary, and you wouldn't need to activate your Medicare Part B. And boy, we've seen this time and again. We had a gentleman last December who had been to several different seminars that we had done. Each time he figured he learned a little bit more, and that's good. Education's a good thing. But then he finally realized that it was better for him to be on Medicare than it was for him to continue to be covered by his wife on his wife's creditable coverage, because you can cover your spouse. So we went through the numbers, and it turned out definitely that Medicare was a better value than what she was getting for him. And he whips out his Medicare card, and lo and behold, he activated A and B when he turned 65. He didn't need to do that. He was on his wife's creditable coverage. And only now at 82 did he figure out he didn't need to be paying for that Part B. We always want you to be very cautious about this world and make sure that we're having a clubhouse meeting. Medicare won't even want to see you more than 3 months out from your birth month. But in that time frame, it's a really important time frame to figure out, what are you doing? What are we doing? What are we going to do for your coverage? Do you want to stay on the coverage through your spouse? Frequently now we're seeing, like this other gentleman, where it's a better value because everything here is done individually. Split the spouse off. Let her go to Medicare and get better coverage for less money, potentially, than what you're currently paying through your employer plan. Important time frame here, 3 months before your birth month, you'd go effective your birth month. The birth month, you sign up in that month, you go effective the next month. But beware, you wait until after that first period of time, 3 months before your birth month and your birth month, there can be time penalties here. They'll hold you off from activating immediately because what they really wanted was you in the pool early, paying premiums as soon as possible. A and B are going to form the foundation. A really can't hurt you unless you have a health savings account, an HSA type of coverage. That's a high deductible health plan where you're allowed to make contributions to a tax deductible event. If you have one of those, you know what we're talking about. But generally speaking, most people that have a standard PPO, and you know that if you had a copayment to see the doctor, that's a standard PPO, or even an HMO, go ahead and activate the A. But you sure want to be careful about activating that B, because that B has a premium. And that premium this year is $144.60. Kind of exciting in our world. We don't get much of a life, but we did find out today some very good news. That $144.60 that goes up every year due to inflation, we were cautious, not sure what those numbers would be for next year. We haven't even had a chance to update our PowerPoint, but you would want to know that that $144.60 is going up to $148.50 next year. That's almost no increase at all. That's really, really good news. But what you also want to know is that amount that you pay for your Part B, it's graded for income. And it's a standard operating procedure with the government. The more you make, the more they take. And you have to be careful. The way this works, it's called IRMA, your income related monthly adjustment amount. IRMA is based upon MAGI. We love our acronyms. MAGI is your modified adjusted gross income. And it's always a 2-year look back because the computers that the government have are always a day behind. They're not up to speed with what's going on today in your life. So, for example, in 2020, they can only see your 2019 returns. 2019 returns actually report what you made in 2018. If in 2018, as a married couple filing jointly coming to the world of Medicare, you would each pay less than $144 if you made less than $174. But if you start making more than that, they start charging you each more for the Part B, because remember, everything's done individually here. Not only do they charge you more in the Part B, they also kick you a little bit on the D drug program as well. So you want to be very careful about the financial decisions you're making at 63 and 64, 65. You continue to work past your official retirement age of Medicare, because these could have effects on what you pay for your Part B further down the road. Medicare has a heart. They will allow you to appeal these higher charges due to what's called life-changing events. That could be a retirement. It could be possible you killed it in 2018, did great in 2019, but now it's 2020 and you've retired. You're not working that many hours. You're not making that much money. And we can appeal these higher charges. There's an official form. We can set you up with that. But we always want to know that the government is looking 2 years back, and they'll find out in 2022 that they charged you too much in 2020 if you don't speak up, and they'll cut your rates then, but you will have paid too much in the interim. And I always say, I love my government. I just don't want to give it one more nickel than it's already taken. Lori, you got any questions?
Well, so yes, go back to that slide, because the basic question, and it was asked, for people who are just turning 65 and planning to continue to work, what should they do? So again, if you continue to stay on employer coverage, you can activate Part A unless you've got a high deductible health plan and are contributing to a health savings account. Activating Part A doesn't hurt you. It will stand behind your employer coverage, but you certainly would not want to activate Part B. And there will be a lot of people who will tell you, oh my God, if you don't activate A and B when you turn 65, you will be penalized. You won't, as long as you will have creditable coverage that you're staying on. And David, I don't know if you mentioned that coverage is only creditable if there's at least 10 folks on that insurance. So if you work for a very small business,
It's 20, Laura. It's got to
I'm
be
sorry,
20.
20. It's
Yep.
too late. But so if you work for a very small business and there's not 20 people on the insurance, your insurance is not considered creditable in the eyes of Medicare. So it's having employer coverage and having that employer have at least 20 employees on the coverage.
Yeah.
And if there's anything that we can say, if you're going to activate A and B when you turn 65 and go straight on to Medicare when you turn 65, you need to enroll the 90 days prior. If you wait until the month of your birth, you are going to get delayed. And the longer you wait after that, the more you're going to get delayed. And you could be locked out. So be ahead of the curve rather than right at the last minute.
Yeah, we have too many people that literally wait till the last week. They think it's like the DMV. They're going to walk in, get their Medicare card and walk out. No, these wheels turn slowly. And there are some specifics here that you would want to be aware of. The key term here is that you continue to work there and that there's 20 people. I've seen people, well, I'm on a retirement program. They bought me Cobra for 6 months. I got the golden parachute. That's terrific. But with Cobra, you want to read the fine print. You need to have A and B in effect if you're on Cobra, because Cobra is only going to pay as if you're entitled to Medicare. They're only going to pay as if you have Medicare in primary position. You'd also want to know that Cobra coverage in the eyes of Medicare is not considered to be creditable coverage. So you got that sweet Cobra deal and they cover you for 12 months. The problem is then you go to pick up your Medicare Part B and you say, well, I'm coming off a group coverage. No, you're not. You're no longer working there. And Cobra is not considered to be creditable. We've seen a lot of people in the last year who've taken buyout packages and don't fully comprehend what they're doing. And you could fall into jeopardy on that. This is where you always want to make sure, give us a call or talk to the folks at Social Security. You don't want to get caught here short. That's not what you want to do. A lot of people will say, well, how do I pay for my Medicare if I'm not turning on my Social Security? They'll bill you quarterly. Social Security and Medicare are two different programs. Medicare is the medical. Social Security is where they give you back less money than you ever gave them. Okay, you can have one without the other. You can have the two together. You can split it up. But in that world, to Lori's point, please be ahead of the curve. We work with too many people that wait till the last minute, and you really don't want to do that because it takes time for this stuff to process.
Well, and like I spoke to a woman today who her birthday is the 24th of November. So she thought she had till the 24th of November to sign up. She wants to go effective when she turns 65. But what she didn't realize is that everything in the world of Medicare starts the first of the month. So she was actually entitled to Medicare as of November 1st, not just November 24th. So she's actually now in the month of her birth, which means if she turns her coverage on November 24th, she's not going to be effective in Medicare till December 1st.
Correct.
And we got a note from somebody, I'll reply individually. It's just a personal situation about if you're coming to Medicare January of 2021, you're in your window now to apply. So yes, you go online, and if your intention is to start Medicare January 1st of 2021, go online and apply for A and B right now.
Yep. And if you were to work past 65, you're 67, 68, however, the gentleman that was 82 should have waited. But that Part B, we can turn that, the government will allow you to turn that on. It's basically two forms. One form you fill out saying, hey, I'm ready now to start my Medicare. The second form is an attestation from your employer saying, nope, they've been here, they've been covered, everything's cool, because you had creditable coverage. You didn't need to activate the B. Those two forms go into Social Security. They're the gatekeeper, and Social Security would turn on your Medicare Part B. Your parents, I would guarantee you, was always the same date, the first day of the month in which they turned 65. Now, baby boomers, it's pretty unusual that they have the same date because they continue to work. And that's been a dynamic change over the last 10 years.
And not to belabor the point too long, but in regards to activating A, so we had a question about a wife being on a spouse's coverage and she's over 65 and hasn't activated A yet, no, you don't need to. You can activate both A and B at the point in time that you decide to drop off of the spouse's coverage. So there's no harm in not activating A, but there's also no harm in activating A because A has no premium.
Yeah, I mean, when was the last time that the government gave you something for no charge? Okay. There's different parts to Medicare. We want to talk about them all here tonight, but not to beat it with a stick. A and B is going to form the foundation. Once we've got A and B in place, that's between you and the federal government. We definitely want to look at a drug program. We might consider an advantage program, but we're going to talk about that all here tonight. This is what we call the roadmap of Medicare. And I love it because it's simple. It shows us everything from the Goodyear blimp. We're looking down on the world of Medicare. You've got to have A and B to do anything else. That's between you and the federal government. When you turn that on is your choice. But once you've started that A and B, and we're going to unpack that here in a second, but I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. It's really good, but it's not complete. So we're going to look to pick up additional coverage if we want to be completely covered. And that additional coverage can take one of two different pathways. One pathway is called Original Medicare. And that's where we're going to have Medicare in primary position. We're going to back it up with a supplement and a drug program. 3 parts to your coverage, each customizable to your specific needs. Or there's the other option that's being advertised like crazy on TV right now called Medicare Advantage programs. Technically, they're called Medicare Part C. In the business, we call them Medicare replacement plans because literally they're going to step in and they're going to replace Original Medicare. You still have Medicare. You still have to pay your Part B premium. That never goes away. But on this side of the equation, you put that card away because now instead of 3 parts to your coverage, there's 1 card and 1 company, a private insurance company now is going to step in and manage your care. Both sides of the equation have their positives. Both sides have their negatives. But to do either side, we got to have A and B in place. So let's take that apart. Medicare Part A. As Lori mentioned, A has no premium. I always get a kick out of agents when I hear them saying it's free. Medicare Part A, it's free. No, it's not. You paid a fortune in taxes and you will continue to, but they do not charge you a premium for Part A. And if there's one word for Part A, it's all of your facilities, all of the buildings that you're going to come into contact with in the world of Medicare. Well, certainly no building could be more important than the hospital, but the hospital has a copayment. And you might move from the hospital into a skilled nursing facility. That's rehab or step down. And that's a great place to be, but it has a copayment. And then you'd look at home health services where Medicare will arrange for a professional to come right to your home to help you get back on your feet. Understand the difference. That is a health event on a very short-term basis for major stuff. That is not long-term care. That's not assisted living. Sorry, Medicare doesn't pay for that. That's a different discussion for a different night. That's called long-term care insurance. This is where someone's coming over to get you back on your feet so you can get out to the doctor's office where it's less expensive. And here we have the last part of A, hospice. And whether that was in a freestanding hospice facility or the privacy of your own home, that's coming up under Medicare Part A as well. A has no premium, but A has exposure. That's the term we use for when you're digging into your pocket to pay for something. And here's what that looks like. Medicare Part A, if you go check into the hospital for just one night, this year, it's $1,408. That's for one night in the hospital. And that gets kind of scary, but hang on a sec. It's not just for one night. It's for up to 60 nights in the hospital, and upon discharge continues to cover you for 60 days. So the example we've always used is your appendix bursts and you have to go into the hospital overnight. You're actually there 2 nights to make them fix that thing. Well, the first night, if all you have is Original Medicare, you own the $1,408. The second night's covered because you made your copayment. It all goes well. You're there 2 nights. Thank goodness everything's fine. And you go home and 3 weeks later, you figure you got nothing better to do and you have a heart attack and go back into the hospital. You're within your benefit window. They wouldn't charge you the $1,408 again. But note, on day 61, whoop, the whole thing resets. And you could conceivably at 61-day intervals, you could hit that several times in a year and you could get hammered each time for the $1,408 if All you have is original Medicare. I'm going to show you how to fix that, but understand your exposure. From the hospital, you go check in to the skilled nursing facility, and that's beautiful. You get 24-hour care, you get cable TV, they bring you your meals, and the physical therapist comes in twice a day to beat you up. And skilled nursing, Medicare likes that because it's less expensive than keeping you in the hospital. The hospital has things like MRI machines and an emergency room downstairs, losing money hand over fist. The skilled nursing facility doesn't have that. It's much less expensive. And in that world, Medicare says, look, good, we'll cover you for 100 days of skilled nursing. The first 20, they'll pick up everything. The next 80, though, however, be aware there's a copayment. Medicare says you can stay there, but now you're responsible to pay $176 per night for those additional nights. And please note that after 100 nights, Medicare says, look, game over. If you can't get out of skilled nursing in 100 nights, after that, it's all on you. And that gets really spendy. That's where your long-term care coverage could kick in and help you out. We talked about Medicare being a world of partial sentences and half-truths. And there's a floating asterisk right there. And the reason there's an asterisk on that skilled nursing is because it's a great benefit, but it's got a trigger. To get that benefit, you need to be admitted to the hospital for 3 nights. These days, there's 2 ways that you can get into the hospital and spend the night. One, you're admitted. There's a diagnosis. We're going to find it. We're going to fix it, and you're going to be there. But the other way that you can spend the night in the hospital, this has become more frequent, is under observational status. Observational status means you've never been officially admitted. And as a result, that's usually the doctor feels a lot better with you being 45 feet from the emergency room than an hour and a half by ambulance. They use it as a protective measure, both for you and for them from a lawsuit perspective. But in that world, these observational stays are covered by Medicare. I'll show you where that happens under Part B. But observational status does not get you the 3 nights necessary to get that skilled nursing benefit. And this is a really important lesson in any kind of healthcare. You've got your card. What are we doing? Why are we doing it? And who's paying for it? We've seen clients in years gone by. They were clearly in the hospital for 3 nights. So they went and checked into skilled nursing, only to find out that that stay was not covered because in the hospital, 1 night was observational, 2 nights were admitted, didn't tick the 3 nights necessary to get that skilled nursing benefit. This is a place where you really don't like surprises. We see home health services, and that's wonderful. But again, that's major stuff. That's wound dressing after a big surgical event, or maybe a handful of physical therapy visits to get you back on your feet. They're not coming over to pick up the mail or grab a gallon of milk on the way. That's not what they do. Their job is to get you out the door to the doctors where it's less expensive. And hospice, I put down 5%, but that's hardly fair. Basically, Medicare picks up almost everything, but there can be a very small copayment for certain medications you take to remain comfortable before you pass away. Here's A, facilities. No premium, but clearly exposure. Let's move on to B. What's Part B? If A is facilities, B is services. This is why there's a premium here. The premium is $144.60 this year, graded for income. The more you make, the more they take. The reason we're charging a premium on B, this is the lion's share of what you're actually going to come into contact with on a regular basis. All of the doctors that you see, all of the specialists that you see, whether you saw them in the hospital or you saw them in their office, they're billing up under Medicare Part B. There might have been an anesthesiologist one time that knocked you out so a surgeon could operate on you. Wait a second, that happened in the hospital. Yeah, but wait a second, that 1408 is a facility charge. That's the gurney and the bright lights. That's the operating room. Everybody that worked on it, call it labor. All of your labor charges come up under B. All of your lab work, everything from a blood test to a biopsy. All of your diagnostic testing, that's the expensive alphabet soup, EKG, EEG, MRI, CAT scan, X-ray, stress test, all coming up under B. Durable medical equipment. Maybe you get out of the hospital, you need a walker or a wheelchair, or maybe in the hospital, you got a brand new knee or a pacemaker, or you got a COPD machine. All these things, durable medical equipment, DME comes up under B. PT, you should know, stands for pain and torture. Actually, it's physical therapy. The emergency room, where the ambulance took you to the emergency room, that's all under Part B. Outpatient services. This could be a cataract or a colonoscopy, or Lord knows they're even doing knee replacements now on an outpatient basis. Or maybe you were held in the hospital under observational status. That would be outpatient because you were never officially admitted to the hospital, and that's going to bill up under B. It's not that Medicare doesn't cover the observational stay. It's that the observational stay does not tick the 3 nights of admission necessary to get the skilled nursing benefit. You've got clinical RX, which is a critical component because now there's a lot of medications that you might have delivered in the doctor's office that you may also possibly run through your Part D drug prescription program. Typically, clinical RX, the definition, in an outpatient setting or the hospital or in a doctor's office, you're administered some sort of a medication. Typically, that was defined by the god-awful stuff: chemotherapy, kidney dialysis, radiation treatment. That's all going to bill up under B. The heavy-duty stuff is coming up under B, whereas your maintenance medications for cholesterol and blood pressure, the stuff you get at Walgreens, that's coming up under your drug program. We'll talk more about that later. But understand that the drug program has this thing called the coverage gap or the donut hole. And that's where things could get very expensive based upon what you're taking. And sometimes there's a potential. The med, you may have the choice to have it delivered in a clinical setting or possibly take it in the privacy of your own home by running it through your Part D drug prescription program. I can only speak financially. Your quality of life is paramount. You've made money your entire life. Spend it however you want to spend it. I'm just saying from a purely financial standpoint, if it's possible that the medication could be delivered in a clinical setting, that would be infinitely less expensive than running it through your drug program. And we'll show you why that is later. So here's B. All of your services, B does have a premium. You can hold off on B until you retire from that job where you've got creditable coverage. But B also has exposure, but it's structured differently. A says pay as you go. Do this, pay that, do this, pay that, do this, pay that. B, on the other hand, has an overall annual deductible. You must meet the deductible, after which there's cost sharing. Very similar to your employer plan, but the difference is your employer plan has a firewall, a safety net, an out-of-pocket maximum that B does not have. B has an unlimited benefit. It's wonderful. The deductible is a crazy $198. If that doesn't rock your world, I don't know what does. I'm on the Affordable Care Act. I carry a $7,000 deductible. I look at $198, my head explodes. You couldn't see a doctor that would charge $198. I don't think you could get a blood panel that retails for under $198. But this year, that $198 is your deductible, after which Medicare is going to step in and start splitting bills with you 80-20. They're going to pick up 80 cents on the dollar. They're going to hold you responsible for 20 cents on the dollar. The good news is it's an unlimited benefit. But the bad news is it's unlimited exposure, meaning you go for 5 knee replacements. They're going to pay for 5 knee replacements, but every 61 days, they want their 1408. And if you stay longer in skilled nursing, they want their 176 for the next 80 nights. Hope you never need the hospice benefit. $198 deductible, you got to be kidding me. But it's that 20% that's going to grab your attention. 20% of everything, no stopping it, correct. Unlimited benefit, unlimited exposure. Good news, if you're ready to see the future, yeah, that 198 next year goes up. I'm sorry to give you the bad news, but the 198, yep, it's going up to 203. That is unbelievable. You want to start a good fight at the Thanksgiving table? Tell your friends under 65 that you carry a $203 deductible. They'll probably throw things at you. In that world, though, not only is the good news that the deductible is so low, but after you've paid your deductible, Medicare starts taking their negotiated discount before you even see the 20%. And if you know anybody that's been on Medicare and you've seen the bills that they've been paying, when you see the discount that Medicare takes, it's incredible. Your cardiologist says, I'm brilliant, I charge $350. Medicare says, no, in the Chicagoland area, we pay $80. Of the 80, you'd be responsible for 20% of that 80. That could see a cardiologist for $16. That's an example. That's not a specific, but I'm saying when you see the discount that Medicare takes, you're responsible for the deductible. But then after that discount, you're responsible for 20%. This is incredible coverage. And you might ask yourself, my goodness gracious, How do they do this for 144.60? Easy. They don't. They're not running Medicare for the 144.60 you're giving them. They're dropping north of $850 a month on everybody that's in Medicare. That's why the taxes keep going up. That's why we look to the evil, greedy rich to pay more for their Medicare, because in a world where it's so expensive, people look at that 144.60, and I know it never fails. I'm going to have somebody that's going to call and complain that it went to 148.50. Seriously, they'll complain. It went up again. There it goes. It went up again. But in that world, the government is dropping a lot more money than what we're participating in it. That's why the taxes keep going up. In this world, it is incredible value. It's an unlimited benefit, but with that unlimited exposure, we've got to realize that maybe, just maybe, there's something more we need to do in addition to original Medicare to fully protect ourselves. And we'll get there right after Lori gives us some questions, Lori.
Well, I was thinking about the fact that right now they're screaming all over television about the big changes to Medicare. And some of these numbers that David has been talking about, 2020 versus 2021, that's it. I mean, those are the big changes to Medicare. Things are going up $3, $4, $5. The reason that you're hearing that is because they want to boat you to call that 800 number and get roped in with a sales agent to flop you to something that you may not know what you're doing. So be careful about the sort of sales talk that you hear on some of these television commercials. There is no such thing as free Medicare. We get those calls every year at this time of the year because they're screaming about free this and free that on television. Nothing in life is free. So, and the changes aren't very big. In fact, if there's anything, the changes have all been better. The rates have not, gone up, costs have not gone up, and the benefits have been enhanced. Yeah.
So in this world where we've got original Medicare A and B, we know we need to do something about that. So in this original Medicare pathway, we're going to add new additional parts to the coverage. The first thing we'd want to look at would be a Medicare supplement. We call them supplements because they supplement what Medicare does, or if you prefer the term, we call them Medigap plans because they fill in the gaps of what Medicare doesn't cover. The beauty of this system, the new sheriff in town is running the show, and that's Medicare. And these companies got to play by Medicare rules. And in this world of supplementals, all the companies that want your business are all forced onto a level field of play. Medicare says how they're going to participate. These supplements are packages of benefits brought to us by private insurance companies standing secondarily to your insurance. Your insurance is now Medicare, and that's a tectonic shift. When you're under 65, I know you got to stay with Blue Cross, and I got to stay with Aetna, and she's with Humana. Lord knows she's got to stay within the Humana network. Now, when you come to Medicare, you've got to stay within Medicare. Any doctor, any hospital, anywhere in the United States, they take Medicare, you're in. And I got to put an asterisk on that one because DuPage Medical Group just made some changes. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. Not a big change, but a change nonetheless. But in this world, we come to Medicare and we've got these supplementals and they got to play by Medicare rules. And Medicare has three big rules for these supplemental companies. Number one, within 6 months of you activating your Medicare Part B, that could be when you turn 65 or further down the road, 6 months before you activate B, 6 months after you activate B, you can go to any of these products from any of the companies that are offering them, and they got to take you. It's the law. There's no pre-existing conditions, no riders, no waivers, nothing, because you're activating Part B for the first time. Second rule, once you pick one of these products from the 39 companies that want to sell them to you, they can never drop you. You're theirs and they're yours till the day you die, or we find a better alternative somewhere down the road. And the third and most important aspect of the supplemental programs is that you can't be singled out for a rate increase. There is safety in numbers, and that's a great relief. If you've got some god-awful disease and you come to this world of Medicare and you pick yourself a supplement, you have a terrible year. You have first diagnosis, dread disease, fall off a roof, snake bite, car wreck, all in the same year. They can't come to you and say, you are really expensive. No, they can only share your claims among the risk pool that you are in. So there's safety in numbers. In this world of these packages of benefits, Medicare says what the packages are, not the insurance companies. We just belabored. What does A and B get us? A lot. What does A and B leave us exposed to? Some very important stuff. And each of these, why are there 10? Because different people have different desires. Different people have different needs. Different people have different risk tolerances and different finances. But these 10 packages of benefits, Medicare says what they are, not the insurance companies. Wait. So you're telling me that N from Blue Cross Blue Shield is similar to N from Mutual of Omaha? Not similar, identical. Medicare says what N is and what G is and what F is. But wait a second, I know my doctor takes Blue Cross Blue Shield. Does my doctor even take Mutual of Omaha? No, sir. Does your doctor take Medicare? Medicare is your insurance, and all the companies that are offering you these supplemental programs stand behind Medicare. It's got to be a Medicare approved charge from a doctor or a hospital that accepts Medicare. And at that point in time, you start to see a very level field of play. So wait a second, G is G, no matter who I get it from, and the network is the same because it's Medicare. Well, what's the difference? The price. The price can vary dramatically because it's a very competitive environment. And not only is the price important to me, to us, more importantly is the track record of the company that you choose to do business with, because this is where a little bit of knowledge can be a really dangerous thing. And people get halfway home and they make a mistake. Well, if N is N, no matter who I get it from, and the network is the same, no matter, it's always Medicare, then I know I'm just going to go online and I'm going to choose the cheapest end from the cheapest company, and I'm going to jump on board because they got the lowest rates, and I know every year I can change my supplement during that open enrollment period. From October 15th to December 7th, I got run of the house and I can just go to a different, cheaper company next year, right? Wrong. You've got 6 months before you activate B, 6 months after you activate B. Go anywhere you want to go, I agree. But you've hitched your wagon to a small company, maybe a B- rated company. I'm not so sold on that because I've seen their rates jump up in years out because they've got very small pools of insured. You want to look at the big companies with the big, huge risk pools because they're much more stable and steady. We tell our clients, you've got to figure every number goes up somewhere between 5 to 8% per year. That's why these new numbers at Medicare were amazing. They were great. They were very, very minimal. But in a world of rate increases, people don't realize that they might have given away what we call your golden ticket. 6 months before you activate B, 6 months after, go anywhere you want to go. They got to take you. They can never drop you, and they can never single you out for a rate increase. But after that 6-month window closes, now what? Now you can change your supplement every month of the year. It's a common misconception. I can only change my supplement during open enrollment. No, you can change a supplement any time of the year. But in that world now, they can ask you medical questions, and that may hold you back from that little inexpensive company that looked so good initially with the really small pool of people insured. And we can show you the track record of the companies that we choose to do business with. We can show you their rate increase history. You see smaller companies with a very small risk pool. You've got 800 people sharing in a lung transplant. Those rates are going up way more than 5 to 8% per year. Whereas you've got companies that have tens of thousands of insured, safety in numbers. Traditionally, this market here has been driven by 3 components: the F supplement, the G supplement, the N supplement. F was the one that was very popular for years for 2 reasons. Frankly, one, it was very easy to understand. F is a package of benefits that absolutely wipes out all of that exposure that we talked about. If you have F, you don't even pay the 1408. F pays for that. You don't pay the skilled nursing, F pays for that. You don't pay the hospice, F pays for that. You don't even pay the annual deductible or the 20%, F pays for all of it. Well, that sounds really good. And it was very easy to understand. And it was also, because it was so lavish, the most expensive. And unfortunately, in my industry, agents will move you to the more expensive products because they pay higher commissions. There's never a charge to you for our services, but yeah, we're reimbursed by the insurance companies. So in an unscrupulous world, if I can get you to buy the most expensive thing, I'm going to make the biggest commission. It drives me crazy. It's never been the way we've driven our business. But for a lot of people, they wound up with F because the agent told them it was the best thing they could have. Well, it was certainly the best thing for the agent because it was the most expensive, but was it the best thing for the client? I doubt it. And even now, I am supported in that belief because F is no longer marketed to new enrollees. If you're turning 65 after January 1st of 2020, you can no longer even buy the F because both the insurance companies and Medicare agree it was so top heavy and so expensive. And what do we know about insurance companies? The more you want them to do, they're happy to do it. But the more they do, the more they charge. And even the insurance companies in Medicare agreed that this F is crazy. There's no brakes on the car. There's no stopping somebody who sneezes twice from going to get an MRI. They never had any skin in the game. It was free to them, but a fortune to us. And in this F, consider the fact that not only was it expensive initially, but now you're in a risk pool. And what's happening to that F risk pool? They're not adding anybody new to that risk pool. There's nobody there younger showing up, sharing in your claims. And we've already seen the F start to accelerate. If you have it, we'd like to get you out of it. Always, for years gone by, we've always been big proponents of G over F. I mean, if you want top shelf coverage, G is really the place to be from a value perspective. G that does almost everything F does with one exception. G says that you're willing to pay something. F paid for it. G has you reaching into your pocket, but what are you picking up? The part B as in boy deductible. Well, this year that's $198. Next year it goes to $203. You pay the $203. After that, G picks up everything just like F did. So the only difference is you're paying the deductible. Well, two differences. You pay the deductible, and because you're paying a deductible, you pay a lower premium, just like your automobile insurance, just like your homeowners. The higher the deductible, the lower the premium. What's that intersection? Well, I could show you right now. If you were a female 66, for example, and you're in the F, right now you're probably paying somewhere in the neighborhood of $165 to $170 per month. A lot of companies want your business. These are not specific numbers. This is not a sales pitch. I'm just giving you an example. She would be right around $170 a month. We could have the G for her at $115. She's going to save $55 a month. That's $660 a year because she agreed to pay the $200 deductible. Yeah, it can be that dramatic. And so many people got into F through the years and didn't realize the mistake they had made. And that's one of the problems with Medicare, is if you make a less than fully informed decision, not to worry, you're going to figure that out. But the problem is you're going to be like the couple I'm working with right now. He's 92, she's 90. They both have F, and they are absolutely getting killed with their premiums. And still they don't go to the doctor much. And even if they did, G would be a much better value. They'd save a couple of grand a year. Look at G. Pay a deductible, drive your premiums down. Look at N, very popular and growing in popularity, I think because it mimics what most people have coming off of their group health insurance. N says deductible and co-payments. What's the deductible? The same silly Part B. What are the co-payments? Once you've made that first deductible payment, paid off your first doctor visit, then down here at the bottom, you see Plan N has co-payments. $20 to see a doctor, $20 to see a specialist, $50 if you go to the emergency room. In today's numbers, that's really minimal exposure, and that's driving down premiums. Not only is it driving down premiums, but what will we say about a risk pool of people who are willing to accept co-payments for services? By definition, they're probably not going to the doctor a lot. And we're seeing, generally speaking, more modest rate increases on the N than we are on some of the more top shelf G and certainly the F. One concept: how do we drive down healthcare premiums? No deductible, deductible, deductible and co-payments. And you might even consider going even farther. And in the world of Medicare, they have what's called a high deductible plan. It's high deductible G. Standard G, pay the $198 and walk. High deductible G says, no, we'd be willing to accept an out-of-pocket maximum of $2,340. And please understand the terminology. An out-of-pocket maximum is not a deductible. A deductible is something you pay everything up to the 2340 and then they show up. With high deductible G, you would be responsible for that initial deductible, the 198 this year. But after you've paid the 198, then Medicare starts taking their negotiated discount. And after their negotiated discount, you pay 20% of that. So we go back to your cardiologist who says, I'm brilliant, I charge $350. Medicare says you're adorable, we pay $80. You're responsible for 20% of the 80, and that $16 goes towards the 2340. I think personally, the insurance companies misname this product on purpose. They call it a high deductible plan. Boo! Don't do a high deductible. But I'm telling you, from the world of baby boomers that are turning 65, I've carried a $7,000 deductible now. Laura, what's it been, about 6 years? That's a deductible. I got to get to 7,001 before the insurance company shows up with a nickel. This 2340 is a very, very interesting concept, and I'd love to show you how it works. And that's going to drive our premiums down even further. That's another reason you don't hear many people talking about it, because that's going to drive that female turning 65 down into the $40 a month range. And 2340 might be too scary for you, but for a lot of people who've been going to bed with $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 exposure, if you look at the new Blue Cross Blue Shield Affordable Care Act plans, they all now carry an out-of-pocket maximum of $8,800. 2340 looks pretty comfortable to me if you've ever been familiar with that level of exposure. Laura, what do you got?
Well, I was just thinking again, our point is when you come to Medicare over 65, you're in a much better place. I mean, granted, if you've got employer coverage, you've probably had decent coverage, but for many people who are faced with, being self-employed and being on the Affordable Care Act, that's been a challenge because the costs have been high, the deductibles have been high. So in the world of Medicare, it even though it's also a federally run program like the Affordable Care Act is, the costs and the out-of-pockets are immensely different.
Can make a lot of sense if you look at a husband and wife on the husband's insurance or the wife's insurance. You look at what you're paying monthly, and any logical person would say he's paying $500 a month. That's obviously $250 on him and $250 on her. No, typically the employer plan loves the employee and tolerates their loved one, meaning on that type of situation, he's probably $100 of that $500 a month premium. She's probably $350 to $400. It's very, very possible that we can split that couple up. And I know it's scary. And I know, we've always been with the employer plan. They've always been good for us. I don't disagree, but I'm saying this is a place where you want to investigate the potential. If you were looking at your employer plans, most of them are going to have an out-of-pocket maximum somewhere between $3,000 to $5,000 in a calendar year. And depending on what you're paying, think of this platform here. Your base premium on B is $148. A high deductible G is going to run you somewhere around $45 to $50. A drug program, which we still have yet to talk about, but if you pencil that in at $25, you wouldn't be that far off the mark. You're probably looking at moving here for somewhere in the neighborhood of $2 to $2.25, and reducing your out-of-pocket maximum, increasing your network, and potentially lowering your premium in the process. It can be a very powerful move, but only if you take the time to educate yourself about it. A and B really good, A and B not complete. Pick up a supplement. Wouldn't be unusual. Mom really likes the G. She likes the comfort of knowing the deductible and then everything's covered. Dad may like the N or even the high deductible G. That's cool because it's customizable to what you want it to be. But it would be smart to keep that all within the same company because there are household discounts available to us in that world. In the world of supplements, we see a lot of competition, and it's a beautiful thing because they're all kept on a level field of play. We also would need to add a drug program. These prescription drug programs are cutthroat. Every year you get a guaranteed renewal right. That's different than the supplements. The supplements, if you want to change, they're going to ask you medical underwriting questions. Please know that in Illinois, we have a blessing. Not a lot of blessings in Illinois, but do note that in this world of 39 different companies that want your business, if you want to change, you can do that every month. but 38 out of 39 are going to ask you medical underwriting questions. In Illinois, we've got one Medicare supplement company that does not ask underwriting questions. That 92 and 90-year-old couple I'm working with right now, I got a company that'll take them without any medical underwriting questions. It gives us a level of flexibility. Most states do not enjoy that. We look at the drug programs and understand, again, Medicare is the new sheriff in town. Medicare is forcing these guys onto a level field of play, and these guys are beating each other over the head. It's beautiful, but they got to play by Medicare rules. In the world of drug programs, whether it is on a standalone chassis or built into the Advantage program chassis, they've all got similar rules. You don't have to take a drug program. Government doesn't force you to take a drug program, but if you don't take a drug program, there will be a late enrollment penalty if you choose to do so farther down the road. It's negligible. The penalty doesn't seem like much. This year, I want to say it's like 38 cents a month. It's really not a big deal, but those months roll by and the years roll by. And I've seen it time and again. I'm not going to get a drug program. I don't take any drugs. And any drugs I was ever going to take are going to be generic. Why bother? Well, because that penalty keeps ticking away. And eventually, I'm working with a gentleman right now. His mom is 89. And almost as if my words were coming back to me, she never took a drug program when it was first offered. She's not taking anything. But inevitably, it seems like the doctor shows up these days and he's touting Eliquis or Xarelto. These are just two examples of very expensive drugs. They're miracles. They're blood thinners, and they are wonderful. They're also about $500 a month. And she now has come to the conclusion, wait a second, I need a drug program. I agree. And we can get her a drug program every year. And that's what we're going to do between October 15th and December 7th. She has the right to get a drug program. But unfortunately, she's also going to be looking at that late enrollment penalty. And for every year she went without a drug program, and that's been about 14 years now, figure at 38 cents or thereabouts, the penalty, that's about $5 for every year she passed on getting a drug program. Well, now she's going to pay that late enrollment penalty, and that's not a one-time deal. That is in perpetuity. That means every month for the rest of her life. So that's about an additional $70 that she's going to be spending on the penalty plus the drug program. And still that's a deal, because she's going to get her Xarelto for a copayment of about $25 a month. But the problem is people who didn't take advantage of getting a drug program initially and or didn't have creditable coverage through their employer. This is another place where people worry about penalties, but that creditable coverage will avoid that penalty. But down the road, they find out, and usually it's too late. And I understand when these drug programs first came out, they were like $40, $45 a month, and you're not taking anything? That's kind of spendy. But we've seen the power of capitalism kept on the rails. It's a beautiful thing. I would say it was less than 5 years ago, we first saw drug program premiums dropping below $20 a month. That was a watershed event. 2 years ago, we dropped below $15 a month for a drug program. That's cheap enough just to avoid the penalty, and it's there if Eliquis or something like it comes out of left field. And then this next year, we've broken the $10 barrier. There's a drug program out there next year for $7.30 a month. And please don't tell me in 10 years you didn't take a drug program because you weren't taking any drugs. At least that drug program avoids penalty, and it's there if something goes wrong. It's foolishness to avoid getting the drug program. And what any insurance agent would always say, our mantra, better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. And that's exactly what's going on here. In this world, viciously competitive.
Someone asked about why there's a penalty, and the penalty has to do with the fact that Medicare needs everybody paying into the system to be able to make it affordable for all. So
all hands on deck.
Yeah, so luckily, it's not going to cost you a lot to have a drug plan this next year in particular, with a plan that costs $7.30 a month.
And it's cheap enough insurance to avoid a penalty and know it's there if you need it. Now, the best part of this Part D is that the emperor has no clothes. We can see what everybody's doing. And currently, we've got this year 28 drug programs to choose from, and your head would explode. Why 28? because they've all got different niches. They've all got different specific areas where they'll compete. Some are good for mail order. Some are great for generics. Some have gone after brand name drugs. But this year we had 28. Next year we've got 31 drug programs. That is beautiful because they're all beating each other over the head to win your business. This next year, the field of play, we open at $7.30 a month. Good program for generics, but it's not really good for brand name drugs. For that, you'd want a $30 or $40 or $50 drug program, maybe more. With our most expensive drug program this next year at $145 a month. Well, that must be for some dread disease. It is. It's for some awful circumstance. But note that in this field of play, 31 people competing for your business, and we can see what each one of them are doing. And that's what we want to do during this annual election period. It's so critical to look at what you've got and what you could have for the next year. Most people don't. Most people make one decision, throw it in the drawer, never look at it again. And that's when you get to be 92 years of age and realize that you really fell asleep on this. And that's a sad conversation to have when you explain to him that if we move him to the correct supplement and drug program, we can save him over $400 a month. And Dad always gets that faraway look in his eye because I can see he's doing the math. 400 times 12 is almost $5,000 times how many years? Too many years. In that world, each of the drug programs that want your business, all 31 of them, they got to choose from the Medicare formulary, what Medicare allows to come to market. They're not just making this up. Medicare sets the master menu, and then each of the companies has to decide what do they want to be? Where do they want to compete? What do they want to offer? But all of them will tier their drugs based upon where they want to compete. And we use a 5-tier system of drugs. Most of your employer plans had a 3-tier system. You had generics and brands and specialty. Here we have a 5-tier program. It helps facilitate specialization and competition, and we love competition. Tier 1, these are the super cheap generics, things that you might get for as little as a $0 copay. But note, you may be paying $0 for it, but that drug still has a value, and they're tracking the value of your drug. Tier 2, these are newer generic drugs. Rosuvastatin calcium, Crestor recently went generic. Tadalafil, Viagra now has gone generic, and it's come down in price, but it's still a copayment. And because it's a generic, your copayment may be $4 to $8, depending on the program. But they aren't tracking what you're paying. They're tracking the retail value of the drug that you're getting. Tier 3, these are brand name drugs advertised on TV. They're going to have a higher copayment because they're a more valuable drug. They have a higher copayment, and they certainly have a higher value. If Tier 3 drugs are drugs that are advertised on TV, Tier 4 are drugs that are advertised on TV by famous people. So Phil Mickelson is getting his nickel from Enbrel when you buy that, and John McEnroe is hawking Jublia toenail fungus stuff. In that world, more expensive drugs because they're brand new to market and they're very spendy. And if you see them advertised on TV, you know they're expensive. So in this world, they don't track what you spend for the drug. They track the retail value of the drug. And why is that important? Because all drug programs, whether it's standalone or it's built into the Advantage chassis, have stages of coverage. And you move through these stages based upon the retail value of the drug you're acquiring. This is what that looks like. Most of the programs have an annual deductible. Once you've met your deductible, that first Eliquis, the deductible this year was $435, next year it's $445. But your first Eliquis is going to knock that out of the park because it's a $500 drug. And then you'd find yourself in the initial stage of coverage. And in the initial stage of coverage, life is pretty good. You're paying a monthly premium. Right now, the best program for Eliquis is like $28 a month is the premium. After you've met your deductible, that gets you the right to get Eliquis for $25 a month. That is a sweet deal. You're getting a $500 drug for $25. Yep. But they aren't tracking your 25, they're tracking the 500. And if the retail value of your drugs this year exceeded $4,020 worth of drugs, that's what moves you from the initial stage into the second stage called the coverage gap or the donut hole. And this is where things get more expensive. You have a higher percentage of copayment for the med. Here you were paying $25 for a $500 drug, but after 8 months, you superseded the $4,000 worth of drugs, you fall into the coverage gap, and now your responsibility has grown. You're responsible for 25% of the retail price of the Eliquis. Well, $500 times 25, that's $125. You went from 25 to 125 because the retail value of your drugs exceeded $4,000 worth of drugs. In that world, this gets spendy. And I understand the design. I know it's convoluted and kind of wacky, but think about what they were trying to get at. Carrot, stick. The carrot is that if all you take is generics, it is very tough to hit that $4,000 benchmark. But if you take brand names, here comes the stick. You pay a lot more. So you want to be aware when you're looking at these meds that the higher the tier, the higher the copayment, but also the higher the value. So you'd see these medications, and then down here, oh my Lord, there's specialty drugs. What are those? Well, those are really god-awful stuff. We're talking anti-rejection drugs for transplants, or maybe AIDS medications, or maybe chemotherapy that you could take in the privacy of your own home. Well, you mean I could pick up chemotherapy tablets at the pharmacy and I could take them in the privacy of my own home and I could watch Wheel of Fortune as I wish? Yes, you could. But also understand, not only will that have a very high copayment, because it's a tier 5 specialty drug, it will have a really high retail value. And that really high retail value can push you through that coverage gap. We've seen it in as little as 2 months when you're taking really expensive stuff. And then you fall into the coverage gap and that stuff gets really expensive. In that world, you can get out of the coverage gap, but it's a small fortune before you do. You get to this third stage called catastrophic. There is rate relief. You'd pay like 5% of the retail value of your meds, but it's very expensive to make that move. This is where we find those kind of meds that you at least want to make a fully informed decision. Maybe, just maybe, it might be something that you would go into the doctor's office once a month and put on the gown with air conditioning. I know it's not fun, but if it avoids falling into the coverage gap, it could be something that's worth doing on your part. So here we go. We got drug programs. We've got 31 of them this year, 31 different premiums, 31 different formularies, 31 different ways to attack your meds. So it's pretty simple. During this time period, all you got to do is call 31 different companies and spend an hour on the phone with, no, you don't want to do that. What we're going to do is we're going to go to Medicare.gov, your new best friend in the world, and we're going to go, tell me about these drug programs for next year. We plug in your information. If you can't do it, it's not that tough, but if you can't do it, call 1-800-MEDICARE. They'll help you. Call a SHIP counselor. These are senior health insurance professionals. They're volunteers. They'll walk you through it. These are angels from heaven. They'll help you understand that it's important to look at your drug program each year. We try to do it for every one of our clients just to make sure they're getting maximum value. In that world, we're going to enter a couple of screens. They want to know about where you live, and they want to know about what pharmacies you might use, and then we'd hit pay dirt. This particular program, I think this was the one, Laura, that was $28. I can't say for sure, but please do note the difference between a preferred pharmacy and a standard pharmacy. They will tell you that there's your choice. There is out of network. You never want to go there. There's standard in network. That's misleading. That means they'll take your money, but you're not getting your best value. You want to go with the preferred pharmacies because each one of those 31 drug programs, they've got a strategic alliance with certain retailers. I've seen people with the best drug program go to the incorrect retailer and they pay way more than they should. People think that pharmacies are like gas stations. They're all the same. They're not all the same. Laura?
Well, there was a question about, and this is a very convoluted tool to use if you're using it for the first time and you're not quite sure how to use it. But you really can't search drug plans without putting pharmacies in. This Medicare tool gives you the ability to look at 5 different pharmacies at a time. So you're not beholden to one pharmacy. You don't have to, when you pick a drug plan, declare a pharmacy and stay at that pharmacy all year. You can move around. All this tool does is allow you to choose 5 different pharmacies at one time and see the difference in terms of how things are priced differently at Walgreens versus CVS versus Jewel Osco versus Mariano's versus Walmart.
Yeah.
But putting in a pharmacy is helpful because it'll just give you, again, more information from which to make a decision about where the best place to go is to fill your drugs for the cheapest price.
Can't tell you how many people we work with, and then we get to this stage of analysis and you ask them, what pharmacy would you like to go to? And more frequently than not, people say Walgreens, and that's okay. I'll show you Walgreens, but I'll also show you, if you walk across the street, you might save hundreds of dollars. The retailers are dying out there. Brick and mortar is fading rapidly. They'll do anything to get you in the store. The big hitter drugstores like CVS and Walgreens typically are not as competitive as the grocery stores. The grocery stores are dying to get you in because they know when they tell you it's going to be 10 or 12 minutes, you're going to go buy a loaf of bread or a gallon of milk. They're making their money that way. If you tell me you only want to look at Walgreens, I'm fine with that. But then we're not going to look at 31 drug programs. We're only going to look at the 6 that feature Walgreens as a preferred pharmacy. That is foolishness. Be flexible. Understand that your money and your value can be tremendously different based upon where you go. And to Lori's point, that doesn't force you to declare. That's just showing you information, pulling back the curtain. The emperor has no clothes. You say, well, what if I stop taking that drug? Nobody's going to show up with a gun and force you to take the drug, but we'd sure like to know what you've been taking so we can show you the best possible outcome for those meds should you need to take them.
And when someone asked about, if there's 3 different Oscos, are there different prices? Usually not.
Yeah.
There might be some slight differences in reality when you go there, but no, the pharmacies are similarly priced when it comes to the same store in a different location.
Yeah, typically Walmart is Walmart. Osco's Osco, you'd be okay there. Here we ran this guy's meds and we see what we were talking about before, atorvastatin. He pays nothing for it. It's a tier 1. Yeah, but it's worth $13.45. Lisinopril, he pays nothing for it, but it's worth $5. Here's that dreaded Eliquis, retail $462, but once he's paid off his annual deductible of $435, that would happen first month. He's then getting Eliquis for $25 a throw. That's a sweet deal. But remember, it doesn't last forever because they're tracking the retail value, not what you're paying. And in this instance, we could see where in less than 8 months, he's going to hit $4,000 worth of drugs. That's going to move him into the coverage gap and his copayment goes up. Now, this is better than it's ever been before. About 8 years ago, it was a 50-50 split. He would have been paying $231 and change for that same drug. But the coverage gap has come down and down and down again. And now it is at the lowest point that it'll go to. 25% is your responsibility. The insurance company is picking up 75%. Know the difference between a preferred pharmacy. Know the reality of your drug and what you're doing. You see here ProAir. This is a great example of a drug that now is going widely into generic availability, but Medicare is always a little slow on the uptake. We always recommend a reality check. And if you looked at ProAir, you'd see now, I believe it's called albuterol sulfate. The generic is available. Medicare doesn't show it, but if you went to goodrx.com, if you're not hip to GoodRx, you should be. It's one of many services. I'm not shilling for GoodRx, but know that there are websites out there where you can research and you'd find, oh my Lord, I don't need the brand name ProAir. If the albuterol sulfate generic works as well for you, you can get that through GoodRx. That's about $12 a month. You wouldn't even need to run this drug through your Part D drug program. You use the Part D when it benefits you. You use GoodRx or these other services when you can get better value for your money. We've got clients who use Canada. I'm not shilling for Canada. They're lovely people, but you can sometimes get better value out of that type of situation where you get it from outside the United States. Just be aware of all of your options. Understand that this is something that you want to look at every single year to make sure you're making the smartest possible choices.
So to kind of recap that drug plan, again, go back a slide, David. So the bottom of the slide is a little misleading because we ran this mid-year last year.
That's true. That's
true. But in theory, if this was January, the deductible next year is $445. So this client would pay about $445 for that Eliquis in January. Then in February, he would move into that cost after deductible column. And then probably sometime in about July would move into the coverage gap. And most likely, if he got out of the coverage gap, it would maybe be December, but probably not. One of the stages of coverage have not changed in the drug plans this year. That $435 deductible this year, next year has gone up to $445. So again, not a big change, a $10 difference. The 40/20 has gone up to 4,200, the 6350 in the donut hole, that's gone up to 6,500. So again, slight changes. One of probably the biggest changes in the world of drug plans was the big news on insulin.
Yep.
There are quite a few drug plans, not all of them, that now treat insulin at a $35 copay. Now, if you take insulin, you know how expensive insulin has been. And insulin always ran someone very quickly to the coverage gap, where then in the gap, they were paying hundreds of dollars a month for their insulin. Now, with certain drug plans, you're paying a $35 copay from day one. No deductible, no coverage gap. So even though you'll fall into the coverage gap, because the retail value of the insulin itself will run you toward the coverage gap, when you're in the coverage gap, the cost of insulin will actually stay $35. It's the most amazing thing that's happened to drug prices in ages.
Yeah, it's fabulous news. Really,
I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of that. Well, we hope down the road. I'm not so sure.
So here we're looking at one pathway called Original Medicare, A and B in primary position, picking up a supplement. Mom and dad may have different needs on their supplement, but it's good to keep it with the same company. You get a discount. No such discount on the drug programs. They're too Wild West. They change all the time. And it would be very, very usual that mom and dad would have different drug programs because they're taking different meds. We want to take the best of the drug program and the best of the supplement and put it together in a package. And this is where most people are going to start because it's what your parents did. It's what your friends and family members did. And it's not unusual at all that this will go on autopilot 5, 6, 7 years. But eventually, dad is definitely going to be sitting there with the calculator and the legal pad. And he's going to say, you know, honey, when we first started, these things were relatively innocent. But now here we are at 72 and 73. And between your drug program and your supplement, we're dropping $250 a month. And between my drug program and my supplement, we're dropping another $250 a month. That's $500 a month. That's $6,000 a year. And as far as I can tell, we went to the doctor 4 times last year. Are we really getting value? $6,000 for 4 visits? And that will hopefully light the fire. They'll go to the drawer. They'll open it up. They'll pull out the policy for the first time in years. And they may really start to ask some good questions. And Lori and I will get a lot of people this time of year who want to do a checkup. They're not really sure, but now it's gotten expensive enough to where they can't ignore it. And let's take a look at what you did back in the day. And it's not unusual that you'll see that they did everything with the same company. And that's a dead giveaway that they worked with a captive agent, somebody that only represented one company. We don't like that. That's why we're brokers. I want to be able to show you everything that's available in the marketplace. But sure enough, you had that nice guy come over from the company, and he explained to you that the best drug program and the best supplement, and it was just so much easier if you did it with the same company. Yeah, because it was easier for him. He didn't need to license with 31 companies. We do that because we want to be able to present the broad spectrum of what's available. He only represents one company. It was nice. They gave him leads, but he can't sell you the other companies that are out there that might be more competitive, might have a better track record of rate increases, lower rate increases. But there they are, and they're sitting there, and they're paying this money. And you know what? You haven't looked at your drug program in 7 years. That is low-hanging fruit. We can fix that. We can save you money. And I'm sorry that you did take the F. I know the agent told you it was the best thing, but it wasn't the best thing for your situation. I mean, heck, you're only going to the doctor 4 times a year. Maybe that G would certainly be a better value and could make more sense. By now you've seen the billing. Maybe the high deductible could even make sense as well. And we've got a very good shot here at tuning them up and saving them money. That's a beautiful thing. But they might also want to know about a different way to run their health care. Instead of 3 parts to your coverage, instead of Medicare primary, instead of any doctor, any hospital that takes Medicare, you might be intrigued by this Medicare Advantage phenomenon. And it's a phenomenon right now. If you haven't noticed, every other commercial on TV is about Medicare Advantage. And they're screaming zero this and zero that and things that you've never heard of before. And there's that big Medicare card that makes it look like you're calling Medicare. Those are sales sites. But what is Advantage? Advantage is where the federal government is going to pay a private insurance company to step in and run the whole show. No more 3 parts, now 1 part. In a world where we said Medicare wasn't running Medicare for the $144.60 you were spending, they're dropping north at $850. They send a big old chunk of that over to a private insurance company, and the private insurance company says, really? Run Bob's healthcare for $9,000 a year? We can do that. Come on, Bob, come on over. Advantage, by definition, will be more network restrictive than original Medicare, right? Any doctor, any hospital, anywhere in the United States, they take Medicare, you're in. Here, no, with Advantage, you've agreed to keep it on a more limited chassis. Now you're dancing to their tune, and you're going with a managed healthcare phenomenon called an Advantage program. It's network restrictive, and it has co-payments for services. Frankly, it's the polar opposite of what you've got here. If you've got that G, you pay a $198 annual deductible, and you know after that everything's covered 100% when it comes to facilities and services. On the Advantage program, no. You will trade. You'll give to get. You agree to network restrictions and co-payments for services. And what do you get in exchange for that? You truly do get lower premiums, lower initial premiums. You mean free? No, it's not free. And the commercials that intimate that make me very angry. First of all, it could not possibly be free because you've still got to pay for your Medicare Part B. That never goes away. You got to have A and B to do anything else. But here now, you're going to put that card away, and you're going to agree to keep it within a more limited selection. When these first hit the market about 20 years ago now, they were all on an HMO chassis, and it was very limited. There wasn't a lot of competition. And on an HMO, understand what you've agreed to do there is keep everything within a medical group. You're within Advocate, or you're within Northwestern, or you're within DuPage Medical Group. And the DuPage Medical Group HMO says the DuPage primary is only going to write you a referral to the DuPage Derm, the DuPage Endo, the DuPage Gastro, and you need a referral to get that done. That's what an HMO is. It's a health maintenance organization. It's not a bad thing, but understand what you've done. Now, your DuPage Medical primary is not going to write you a referral to the Advocate Derm or the Northwestern Gastro. That's not going to happen. You agree to keep everything within that HMO network. And what they were able to do is by managing your care and narrowing your choices and combining with co-payments, those HMOs, they actually were featuring a 0 premium plan. A 0 premium? You mean free? Absolutely not free. You've still got to pay your Part B, and over here you have co-payments for services. That's how that works. And now they've become so popular, they've become such big business that now they've actually figured out how to do a 0 premium PPO. You get a wider selection. Now on the PPO, you can go to Advocate, you can go to DuPage Medical, you can go to Northwestern, depending on the company, but the idea remains the same. Well, how can they do more and still have a 0 premium? Well, because the more they do, the more they're going to charge you for co-payments, the more they're going to charge you for the different services you utilize. And one of the important aspects that the commercials don't mention is on these Advantage programs, keep your eye very clearly on what's called the out-of-pocket maximum, your worst case scenario if it all goes wrong. You mean over here where I was paying $198 and then everything was covered? Drugs were separate, I agree, but that $198, after that, the MRI, the CAT scan, the x-ray, the wheelchair, the days in the hospital, the physical therapy, all that's covered. On this side of the equation, no, you'd have a 0 premium, but the MRI is $150 and the emergency room was $120 and the wheelchair had a co-payment, and those nights in the hospital could be as much as $300-400 a night. This is not a bad thing, but you've got to understand on the Advantage program, the devil is in the details. We probably spend more time with people on Advantage than anything else, because you really do need to be looking on page 7 and page 8 and what these specific co-payments look like. But the first thing you'd want to look at, what's the out-of-pocket maximum? Well, over here, we said this couple was going to currently spending $500 a month. If they did nothing next year, they knew they were going to spend $6,000, whether they went to the doctor or not. That's what their premiums were. So their worst case scenario was that they spent $6,000. Their best case scenario, they spent $6,000. On the Advantage chassis, there is an HMO. Granted, it's a more limited selection, but you might be able to live within that network of doctors. But there's an HMO this year that actually has an out-of-pocket maximum of less than $3,000 on each of them, agreed, but that's an out-of-pocket maximum. That's not a deductible. They're paying towards that number. Well, you said they had 4 doctor visits last year. How much was that? $10 maybe for a primary, maybe $35 for a specialist, depending on the program. But on this side of the equation, their worst case scenario is less than what they were guaranteed to spend here. And their best case scenario is far less, because those co-payments could add up to be way less. But all of the Advantage programs, your new sheriff in town is Medicare, and they all got to play by the same rules. So all Advantage programs are going to be more restrictive. They've got to be, because now they're containing you. And maybe it's an HMO where you keep it all within a medical group, or maybe it's all within an insurance company. Maybe it's Blue Cross or Humana or AARP or Aetna. There's dozens of them. I mean, the competition out there is phenomenal, and it's great for us as consumers. But clearly, they're all going to be more restrictive in where you can go than original Medicare. They're all going to have co-payments for services, but the different companies will have different co-payments. They'll all be forced to lay out their benefits in exactly the same fashion. So we can, in pretty short order here, sitting at the desk, I can show you each of the companies. First thing we want to know, are your doctors in network, or would you be flexible enough to change? Then we want to know, what are the co-payments? And most importantly, what is the maximum out-of-pocket, the capped exposure that we're looking at on an Advantage program? We said original Medicare, really good. Unlimited benefit, unlimited exposure. On Advantage, we're putting a firewall in. That can be very, very important to limit your worst case scenario. And each of the companies this year will have as low as $2,000 out of pocket. We'll have as high as almost $8,000, depending on the company, depending on the product. We can look at all of those companies together because we represent them all. But it becomes pretty clear when you know what you're looking at, where the value is on these platforms. Don't just simply go with a name. And please don't listen to a sales pitch from the 800 number. That's not a concierge service. That's a sales site in Nebraska pushing square pegs into round holes. That's not what you want to know. You want to know here, the devil is in the details. Let's tear it apart. All of them are going to include a Part D drug prescription program. And sometimes there are sweeteners in there if you know where to look. Even as recent as 2 years ago, there was an Advantage program. You know, we brag now about how insulin is $35 a throw. There was an Advantage program that had insulin as a zero copay right through the coverage gap. Boy, we helped a lot of people with that because just that one benefit alone saved them a small fortune. Every year, these things are available during the annual election period. That's where we are now. That means from October 15th to December 7th, you have a right to shop these things and look at all the co-payments that are available in all of the different programs, and in-network and out-of-network and the out-of-pocket maximums. But you've got that ability to shop. In the instance where that couple is going to drop $6,000, whether they go to the doctor or not, this can make sense. This is big, big business. Ask yourself, anything that you see advertised on TV incessantly must be big, big business. I know agents that only tout Advantage. Drives me crazy. It's not the one thing for all people. But in that world, it pays very handsomely if they can get you to sign up. And sometimes they play a little fast and loose with the details. And you really do need to know the details here. You can make decisions, and Medicare likes these Advantage programs. Heck, what's not to like? They're paying these companies less than they had budgeted for, and now they get to do less. Everything now is run through their platform. You've got to do their computers, their billing, their customer service. Everything is through the Advantage program now. In that world, so much business here. Gosh, 20 years ago, I don't think there were but 12 HMOs in the Chicagoland area. Now we've got over 52 of these programs to choose from. Some are PPOs, some are HMOs, and you better know the difference before you walk in the front door. We recently got a bit of a ripple in the marketplace. We used to be able to say, any doctor, any hospital, anywhere in the United States, they take Medicare, you're in. But now we got a curveball from DuPage Medical Group. They're trying an experiment where they've got 30 of their primary care physicians are only going to accept Medicare Advantage. Don't panic. There are other primary care physicians that you could choose. You can keep your primary. You can move to this Advantage program. There are PPOs available that make a lot of sense. There's even HMOs that could make sense. But in a world where they want to manage your care, they believe that they can do that better on a more restrictive, more vertical basis. And we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. But right now, some people have been really thrown by the letter that says you've got to switch to Advantage. You don't got to do nothing. You got to know what your options are and investigate all of them. I don't reject Advantage out of hand. Absolutely not. It's a very valuable tool. My frustration comes with people, honest to God, they watch the commercials, and Lori and I get these calls every day that literally boil down to, well, I want my free stuff too. And you'll see that they tout dental, vision, and hearing on these chassis, and they do have these benefits because they've got enough money that they're getting from the government. They'll include a gym club membership, they'll include a debit card, they'll include meals. But I assure you, Joe Namath does not have an Advantage program. In that world, these additional benefits are nice, but they're no reason for you to choose a health plan. These can make sense based upon your particular situation, but I know we run into some people who find on the backside that all that glitters is not gold. Medicare gives you a one-year trial right. That is true. If you want to try an Advantage program for the first time, they would love you to try Advantage. And the sales pitch is that every year, if you don't like it, you can come right back over to original Medicare. And that would be a classic partial sentence and half truth and an asterisk all in one fell swoop. Because yes, if you don't like this anytime in the first year that you've tried it, we can bring you back every month to original Medicare, and we can put you right back into the supplement that you left. But after that first year, it worked out pretty well. You saved an awful lot of money. And in that world, you let it roll. And that's okay, because every year you can still come back over here and you can get original Medicare during the annual election period. And it's true. We can put original Medicare, take that card out. Any doctor, any hospital that takes Medicare, you're in. Pick up a drug program, guaranteed, no problems, easily done. And you can apply for a supplement. I'm sorry, what was that again? Well, after your first year here, if you want to come back over to original Medicare, these guys are going to underwrite. And currently in Illinois, we've got 39 companies that want to sell you a supplement. 38 out of 39 are going to ask you medical questions. The one thing that gives Lori and I confidence to do these Advantage programs is the knowledge that in Illinois, we've got one company on the Advantage, on the supplemental side, that does not ask medical questions. That's a beautiful escape hatch if for some reason you were to find out this didn't fit your needs. But I'm certainly willing to entertain them and show you all of those benefits. And I want to take you to page 7 and page 8, where you see really specifics of what's going on, because sometimes these get painted with a pretty broad brush. And basically the sales pitch turns out the same way as the ads on TV. It's free. Don't do that. Okay. Laura, I'm losing gas here. What do you got?
Yes. So there was actually a participant that asked the question, was that company that doesn't ask medical questions Blue Cross Blue Shield? I told her, yay.
Can't tell you. No, shush.
She asked the question. Okay. So she asked and answered the question. So that is the one company. And I just, again, think we need to review the timing. When you activate your Medicare Part B, that's when the clock starts ticking. When you activate Part B, you can go get a Medicare supplement from any company. And within 6 months of activation of Part B, you can make changes in that Medicare supplement with any of the 39 companies, and they won't ask you medical questions. So when you first come to Medicare and activate Part B, not one of the supplement companies in Illinois will ask medical questions. But once that 6 months is up. If you want to make a change in your plan, so let's say you chose plan F for whatever reason and decided, wow, I made a mistake. And now a year later, you want to change and you want to move to G or to N. Even if you wanted to stay with the same company you had and just move a different package, they're going to ask you medical questions. So again, in Illinois, we've got that one company who doesn't, so you could always make that move. And again, as David said, if you try Advantage and you stay on Advantage for longer than a year, you're going to also have the same situation where if you try to come back to original Medicare, you will only have one choice of a Medicare supplement company unless you are healthy enough to be able to make it through medical underwriting with the other 38 companies. The problem is, why do people want to come off of Advantage? Most of the time, it's because they don't, for whatever reason, something's happened and they want less restriction in terms of doctor and hospital choice. And sometimes, depending on the Advantage plan, they may be spending, they're hitting that out-of-pocket max quite a bit, or they're now going to an out-of-network doctor and that's costing them more. So that's the reason why they want to come back to original Medicare. So if something's going on health-wise, and that's the reason why you want to come back to original Medicare, then at least you have one choice. In many states in the United States, there is no one choice. Going to Advantage is a one-way street. So.
And these have become much more user-friendly. They used to only be HMO. Now you can get a PPO. There's some good product in the marketplace on a PPO chassis. And that gives you the flexibility to see any of the doctors that are in that group, that network, not just by DuPage Medical Group or Advocate or Elmhurst. Now you've got anybody that's in that network of that insurance company. I hesitate to use names because we're not supposed to, but you get the idea, broader selection. But in that world, again, you certainly want to pay close attention to the out-of-pocket. There's a zero premium PPO from a premier company. They're flogging it left and right. And if you didn't know, it's got an out-of-pocket of $7,500. That's a lot of money if something goes wrong. But people are looking right past that because they're getting Denafloss each 2 months for free, you know, that kind of thing. Want to be careful on that. The key here is that they will travel. They'll cover you in a foreign travel emergency. They'll cover you anywhere in the United States if it's an emergency. They have become much more user-friendly. But I would say if you're interested in Advantage, I would love to show you the specifics because it's very important to know the details. We've already run long, and I apologize.
Really long. Yeah, I mean, so the Part D drug coverage runs the same, whether it's standalone or in the Advantage plan. And we did have another question about Part D in regards to what happens if you pick a drug plan and then in the middle of the year, you're prescribed something that's either a higher tier drug or maybe not on the formulary of the plan that you chose. You're locked into a drug plan. You cannot get out. Once you pick a plan, there's no change in until the next open enrollment, which then allows the change January 1st the next year. But Medicare will allow your doctor to request an exception from your plan so you can get that drug filled on the plan that you chose. You know, Medicare's very protective. It has pretty much figured out every possible scenario that could happen. And there are kind of safety nets put up along the way. Somebody previously asked, you know, why is this so complicated? Why are there so many different plans? Why can't there just be one plan? Well, that's because people have different health needs. They've got different financial situations. They have different lifestyles as far as some people stay in Illinois 365 days a year. Other people are traveling all over the place. So different things to be able to individualize it to specific needs.
Yeah. What we saw here tonight is A and B is phenomenal. To Lori's point, you got a new best friend in town. It's Medicare. They're going to watch out for you. And yes, I understand the first time through, this is a mind blow. I get it. That's why we've had people in years gone past. I mean, they'd come to 2 or 3 different seminars just to hear it again. And I encourage you to do that. Xavier's recording this. You go to our website, you can pick up another version we did at the Bloomingdale Library. Every time through, you're going to learn more about this, but know that A and B is really good, but A and B alone is not complete. You could pick up a supplement. That would certainly be a step in the right direction. You'd add a drug program to complete this pathway called Original Medicare, or you might look at a Medicare Advantage program. Yeah, there's a lot here to choose from, but to Lori's point, that's because each individual situation is different. I'll see husband and wife. Wife definitely wants to be on this side of the equation because she's got her team, she's got her doctors. She doesn't want to give up any selection. She wants to be able to see them all. And I've seen men that typically operate on the Jiffy Lube philosophy of healthcare. They don't really care where they go as long as they got a coupon and they're in and out in 20 minutes. Sometimes different choices make sense for different people. What we try to do is to help you navigate that, coach you up, make sure you're making the best value judgments for your situation. You pay us nothing. It's free. And the prices of what we're doing are exactly the same if you go through an 800 number or a website or another broker. But please go to a broker. Go to somebody who knows the whole field of play, not just one or two companies. That's not in your best interest. Capitalism works. And in this world, it's a dynamic environment. It's too important to try to do it yourself. And please, I know people do what their neighbor did, or the guy the guy at work, or the brother-in-law. We all have a brother-in-law that knows everything. And you may do something that was perfect for them, but is not right for your situation. That's why you want to know all of the ins and outs of what's going on here. Xavier, did we put you to sleep, or are you still there?
Oh, I'm still here. I'm just super confused and cross-eyed.
Very good. So I guess the most important thing we can say is thank you very much for your time. I know this was long, but hopefully it was valuable. We'd love the opportunity to sit and visit with you. Laura, any more questions before we let these poor people go?
Well, I just answered one regards to travel. Somebody was asking, if you plan to travel, what's better, Original Medicare or Medicare Advantage? I think it sort of depends. I mean, if you're a snowbird and you're going to spend 3-4 months down in Florida, Advantage could work really well. On the other hand, if you just bought an Airstream and are going to see the USA in your Chevrolet, then maybe Original Medicare. So it really kind of depends on your health situation and your travel situation. So
yeah, there's no one size fits all here. It's all specifically designed to what you're doing today and what you intend to be doing in the future. Okay.
Well, and what we're doing today is we're doing a lot of stuff via Zoom. Someone asked about, how we're meeting people. Although we are doing some face-to-face, a lot of what we're doing now is this sort of thing where you're on your computer, we're on ours, we're sharing our screen with you. There we go. Hand sanitizer, wiping down the desks. So keep, if you want to get in contact with us, those are our direct phone numbers and our emails. Feel free to check out our website. There's actually a recorded Zoom on the website right now from one of the local libraries.
Lots of information, lots of ways to educate yourself. Please do. Let's make fully informed decisions, and we'll say goodnight.
Thank you.
Thanks, Xavier. Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.